Lucid just had the best news this year so far that may turn around what has been an absolutely dreadful year for the struggling startup, and yet nobody seemed to have noticed. The host of the State of Charge YouTube channel, Tom Moloughney, will be here to tell me if he has, and we're going to start right now. Welcome to E4 Electric, where I reveal the truth behind the electric car headlines, so don't forget to click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you've probably noticed that when I report on certain electric car news, you don't see much of it covered this way by other YouTubers and journalists. Most of the time, it's because reporting on what's really going on in the industry from a critical point of view gets you banned from access to nice media events and prototypes. Just this week, I got banned by yet another auto manufacturer from their media events because they didn't like my honest opinion on their upcoming EV. But this week, the news is good for Lucid, and I'm a little dumbfounded why no one else, including Lucid, is that excited about it. As you probably know, Lucid has been going through a production hell, which their CEO, Peter Rawlinson, specifically said they wouldn't. How do I know? Well, most likely because I was sitting right next to him, before I was banned from Lucid's media events, when he said it.
And we've got Peter Hochholdinger to lead that. He's VP of Global Manufacturing. He's got an incredible record, great leader, inspirational guy, and he's putting together a process, a Lucid manufacturing process. And we're not going to have production hell.
Right. Now, what I didn't realize at that time was that Peter Hochholdinger was previously in charge of a big part of manufacturing at Tesla exactly at the time of the production hell, thus becoming one of the founding fathers, if you will, of the term. So why Peter Rawlinson thought things would be different at Lucid, I don't know. But now we know that not only at the time of Hochholdinger's tenure at Tesla, the automaker was making one of the worst quality vehicles in the industry, it has also built a toxic and disorganized culture, which seems to be now at the root of the problem with Lucid. I have pointed to this very issue many times throughout this year, as Lucid has struggled to make cars, delivering just a little over 1,000 of them in the first half of the year and lowering its target from 20 then to 10 and now to 6,000 units for the year, and I don't think they'll even be able to make that many. But none of this seemed to be a concern to too many journalists or YouTubers, as they were busy covering the exciting press releases from Lucid's PR desk. You're not making too many cars right now. Are you in a production hell of some sort? Oh look, a brand new Lucid Air that can beat Tesla off of a red light for just $250,000. Wow! Can you tell me more about that? Is it gonna have maybe a cool spoiler of some sort? But now Lucid has finally caught up to reality and did something to address the production hell. Something that I have been suggesting all this time, while as always being told that I was too negative. Like it's my job to cheer people up. It's not. The news is not always cheery. So I will tell you what Lucid did, but before that, a quick reminder that this video is brought to you by Electrify America, the largest public fast charging network in the US that provides the freedom for all EV drivers to go where they need to go, including coast to coast. With over 800 locations across the US, with more than 3,500 individual DC fast chargers nationwide and growing. Download their app to find hundreds of locations and sign up for their Pass Plus membership for discounted charging sessions. Get started using the link in the description of this video. So what did Lucid do? Well, they finally got rid of the team that was built around and including the guy in charge of manufacturing, Peter Hochholdinger himself, and hired someone else, less Tesla-ish. This signals that Lucid has admitted that they could not continue crawling in the same direction and needed a major change. Rivian has recently did the same thing, getting rid of their Tesla-raised head of manufacturing and replacing him with someone who appeared more competent, and now Rivian delivery numbers should be crossing 10,000 unit milestone. Now, I do have to say that the way Lucid did this wasn't exactly clean, but they did it. Let me walk you through what actually happened. First, Lucid has hired a new head of manufacturing with a fancy title of the Senior Vice President of Operations, Stephen David. More about him in a second. And everyone, including Peter Hoholdinger, was to report to him, but from what I gather, the changes he has started to implement were too much for Peter Hoholdinger and 5 other bosses, and they have all quit. But we don't want to do our jobs well. We want to do it the way Elon told us. Now, I cannot stress this enough. This is a good thing. I have been pretty clear all of this time where the problem was, and now that the problem has been removed, it is a reason to celebrate. But not too much, because I do have to say that Stephen David, who has spent 30 years working for Chrysler with pretty much no experience of building electric cars, would not exactly be my first choice, but you can bet your ass that he will bring a better culture, process, and quality assurance to Lucid, which it so desperately needs. So, as the jury is still out on the new boss, I believe things will get worse before they get better, but they will get better. For more, we turn to the host of the State of Charge YouTube channel, whose biggest credential was not working for Chrysler, Tom Moloughney. All right, Tom, so would you agree with me? And I don't see too many people making a big deal out of it, but I think that this is the biggest news that Lucid had so far this year, and most likely probably kind of a make it or break it type.
It's pretty big news for Lucid, Alex. I mean, they're doing a major overhaul of, employees as well as policies in the factory, the manufacturing plant. This is big news for Lucid.
Now, I've been advocating for this change for a long time, but now that it happened, I realized that changing the manufacturing process in the middle of the very first model ramp up could be costly. Do you think this is going to be a little bit more painful before it gets better?
Absolutely. We don't really know exactly what's going on in there, but we're getting little bits and pieces here and there. Some people say they're employees, and you see things posted in the online forums and so forth. It sounds like they're doing a big overhaul of manufacturing policies. And yeah, that's extremely disruptive to putting out the vehicle. So yeah, I think this is going to have an effect. They haven't been making a lot of cars to begin with. I think they're going to make even less for at least a short period of time.
Now, we know some of the problems that they've been having. Some of them are, specific to Lucid. Some of them are just, industry-wide, from, shortages of parts to some of the not the best quality control and so forth. Which one do you think they should tackle first that will help them the most right now?
God, they can't even prioritize it, Alex. You can't fix one part of it. If everything isn't working, they can't build the cars. If they don't have the parts, if they don't have their manufacturing practices and quality control down, you can't push the cars out. I mean, they've got to do it all at once. Luckily, I mean, they're a big company. They can walk and chew gum at the same time. And hopefully they have the right people in the right places now and can right the ship.
Okay, now, listen, this is not our first conversation about this particular topic. I think it's the third one and dates back to the beginning of the year. Are you more on board with what I was saying back in, January and February, where the problem lied with people running the manufacturing, specifically because they came from the place that essentially created the term production help? Now that the change has been made, are you a little bit more on board that this was the problem all along and this is something that they need to do in order to turn the ship around?
Well, yes and no. I will be if the ship gets turned around. What if it gets worse? What if the new people aren't even as good as the previous group of people that were running things and left? So I think time's going to tell. But, yeah, I'm a little bit more on board with your thought process that you've been talking about for a while now, that there's, something rotten in Denmark and something needs to be fixed and replaced for Lucid to right the ship. I've been a little more conservative, little less willing to be critical, but that's just maybe my nature. But yeah, we're at the point now where they have to right the ship. It's getting late early.
All right, now listen, my next question is, I'm not really sure if I should ask you or my therapist, but what do I have to do to convince people like you and many of my viewers and maybe other journalists, that I might be onto something when I talk about it a year before everybody gets on board again with me. I mean, me and you just had a conversation about battery swap, and 99% of comment is like, no, Alex is completely wrong. Everyone's on to telling me how wrong I am right now and not really paying attention. I was actually right about that thing that they thought I was wrong about a year ago. What do I have to do to convince you guys that sometimes problems are pretty clear and you have to change them right away, then, wait and see and, until things get much worse? What do I have to do?
Maybe that is a question for your therapist and not Tom Moloughney.
Well, you don't charge me as much, so I figured I'll try you first.
You're going to be wrong. You're going to get criticized on YouTube. People are going to believe you. People are not. You have to be doing something right, Alex. You've got, 160,000 followers now. Your videos do better than my videos do, so don't make it out like no one listens to Alex. No one believes me. That's not the case. When you say something like battery swap is, going to be the answer to EVs, you're going to raise eyebrows. I don't believe that. That was a conversation we had just recently. So you know what? If that turns around and you end up being right, I'll have to admit it. I'm kind of admitting now that you were more right than I was with some of the issues that Lucid was having. So hey, maybe you'll be right on a bunch of other things, but my advice to you would be, don't worry about if people believe you or not. Just keep saying what you believe is true and what you believe is correct. And, keep prying behind the scenes and telling the truth behind the headlines. And I think you'll be just fine.
Oh, yes. I let's hope so. Now, let's finish with some guessing game. And I think our audience can play along in the comment section. In between the comments when I'm really, really wrong about it. But, let's see. How many cars do you think Lucid will end up delivering total this year once we're talking about it on January 1st?
Geez, they've lowered their guidance a few times now. And what is the latest now? Like 6,000 or 7,000, I think that they're saying they're going to produce by the end of the year. And through Q2, it was less than 2,000, right? I don't have the exact number. I think it's going to be very hard for them to hit even their latest, lowered guidance, considering it appears as though they're going to be making major changes to the production line. Now, that might be good changes, and maybe it's going to be positive and get them on the right track. But it has to be extremely disruptive for the short term. And, if you look at it in that context, it's already September. It's going to be hard for me to see them putting out more than 4,500 cars this year. I hope they do better than that, but, I'm going to say 4,000 to 4,500.
All right. Now, I'm going to go with around 3,000 because I think that things are going to get worse before they get better. And at the rate of way less than 2,000 through, first half a year, I don't think they're going to do that much better. So I'd say around 3,000. So let's see. I'm rooting for them, but I think things are going to be pretty bad by the end of the year. And then slowly they will start changing next year.
Well, we'll check back in about 4 months, right?
Now, you don't have to wait for 4 months to get more of Tom. You can do that right now by subscribing to his YouTube channel, and I put the link to it in the description of this video. All right, looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.